this weekend, Friday came around. I was like, man, I need to play some video games. And I texted Jason along with his fiance, Sam. I was like, hey, what are y'all doing this weekend? They were like, oh, we're playing Breakpoint. I was like, Breakpoint? I thought we were going to buy that game because it sucks.
And as always, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, and bang that bell, because it's really helping out. We appreciate that.
And then they're like, oh no, we decided to buy it anyway. I was like, okay, fine. I guess I'm going to get it. And then they said it was pretty good. I was like, oh no. So I started looking up online. I was like, I'm definitely not paying full price for this game. Found Target's got it for $40. When it came out, it was like a dumpster fire. People were complaining because they felt like it was a step back for the franchise. It was a amalgamation of a bunch of stuff from a lot of different games, whether it be live service or looter shooters or this or that they tried to cram in a game, but they didn't quite get any of those one pieces right. And Ghost Recon Wildlands was pretty popular, not for its story, but for its open world experience of co-op and just like playing with your friends and just doing a bunch of stupid stuff. So when I came into this game, I was kind of having that same expectation of I just want to go in a game and do stupid shit. So what I got out of it was actually pretty close to that. It has been updated quite a bit since it first came out. So it was pitched as a survival game. You go over to a cliffside and you start slipping and falling and you're going to slide down the cliff and you could like break your leg or injure your leg and have to bandage yourself up and like repair your body. Eat rations, like drink water and stuff like that because you get exhausted, you get fatigued, all this stuff would go down. And that was the pitch of the games, which fit into the overall story of it because the story surrounds this guy named Jace Skell. He wants to create World 2.0, which is this island utopia where there's all this newfangled fancy technology that does all the things for us and everybody lives happily ever after and it's all great. And well, shit hits the fan. Ultimately, there is this character named Lieutenant Cole Walker, who is played by John Bernthal, who somehow is leading this team called the Wolves. John Bernthal used to be and now for whatever reason, unbeknownst to you, he's a wolf. So he has now twisted sides and is playing for this other team, which it seems like he's the leader of. And so you don't know why he's there, but you feel betrayed instantly. These people are shooting you, and then you find out he's the leader of it. And it's like, where'd this guy go? He would never abandon his troop. You know, like he would never do that. So it was a weird shock for a lot of people when they first get there because their goal, like they don't know what's happening at this island. The ghosts don't. They just know that there was a ship that was here that I think it either got sunk or something happened. So because of that, and they lost contact with that, they sent in a team of ghosts to find out what went down. And when they get there, all their helicopters get shot down pretty quickly. You all crash. A lot of them die. And there's just a few of you ghosts left to have to continue out the mission and figure out what happened with the ship, what happened with your squad that got shot down out of the sky. And then all of a sudden you later find that here your old buddy that you haven't seen in a while is here and he's on an opposing side that just shot down your people. So that's the setup of the story. It isn't great, but it's better than I thought it would be. John Bernthal's like roles, which are short, but when they're there, they're really interesting and kind of captivating because they have a lot of the way that they tell like how he got bad is they every once in a while will go to a flashback showcasing like a relationship that you and him had or him and somebody else of the ghost party had, and you start to slowly piece together where things went. One of the things that took a lot of people by surprise when the game first came out, it was a looter shooter that had gear scores and level caps and all this social experiences that they were like, wait, this is supposed to be a survival game. Why do I have a social hub where I walk into, like there's this part really early on where you enter into this space that's basically like the Destiny Tower. And there's a whole bunch of other ghosts in here that are wandering around and you're like, wait, the story setup was there's you and like 3 or 4 other ghosts that were dropped in here covertly to fight off and figure out what happened. And now there's like 30 of us in this space. That doesn't make sense. So that was problem number one. The other problem was you had a gear score. So just like you have in the Division or most notably Destiny, you pick up guns. You can upgrade those guns. They have different tiers of upgrades. So like you can get parts and stuff that you can use to upgrade them from a Mark 1 to a Mark 2 to a Mark 3. And then each upgrade kind of enhances that gun further. There's also gun attachments you can add onto the guns that you can acquire either by doing attachment missions that let you get an attachment blueprint to let you create that attachment permanently to connect to your guns. Problem is, you get a gun, you upgrade that gun, and then you find another gear score that's like 10 gear score higher, so that old gun immediately becomes useless, and you throw it out, replace it with a new one, and then all that stuff that you attach to that old one goes away. And then you have to reattach new stuff and spend more perk points on the new gun that you just equipped. The other issue that people were running into was just the fact that the missions were very repetitive. A lot of it's like fetch quests in a sense, where you have a mission to go collect intel, fight a bad guy, and rinse and repeat, basically, is the idea behind it. But I think the differentiation with those is that if they can make the world a lot more compelling, then you can kind of get past that repetitive mission structure. You can go up to this camp. They call them, I think, bivacs or something like that. And they're little fire pits that you can set up, and that becomes like a fast travel point. But it also is a place you can add enhancements that last for an hour that give you like special buffs. And you can also change your spawn a vehicle if you need to spawn a vehicle that you own, or you can also sell your guns if you want to. But there's a lot of those little encampments where there's a couple people there that you might be able to gather intel from, or there might be a box with a weapon crate like set up there that you can kill. Those guys are pretty easy, and they're all like pow pow. And I like the simplicity of that, because I don't want to have to be sitting there like in Destiny where I'm shooting somebody for 5,000 hours to kill them. Like, I want this game to be quick, easy kills. Like, what I thought was really interesting about this game is that they now have a new feature in it that they launched about a month ago called immersive mode. Immersive mode basically takes all the feedback that people had about the game, where they didn't like the loot score stuff because, again, it was pitched as a survival game. Why do you have a loot score? They didn't like some of the features that, like, there was just too much information that was given to you to go throughout that. Like, if you tripped and fell down a mountain, sometimes you would hurt yourself, sometimes you wouldn't, and it was kind of unrealistic. And the immersive mode is really interesting. Now, granted, I'm not playing immersive mode. I'm playing the regular mode because I like that loot grind in this situation of like finding these new guns and upgrading these new pieces. But I might switch back to it because the immersive mode, what they've done is they've done two key things. They've taken out the level, the loot, the gear score, so that's gone. And then they've also removed a lot of the abilities, like a lot of the HUD components and things of that nature. So there's a lot less. It's a lot more realistic in the way you approach it. But then there's also a third tier to that where you can customize it. So you can add and remove whatever element of the game that you want to make it more toned for your experience. And you can do that, but your co-op partners don't have to. They can play whatever way they want. So if they want to play the old school experience of Breakpoint when it first launched and have the loot score and all that stuff, they can do that at the same time you're playing, and it doesn't affect either person, which is really, really interesting to me. One thing about the guns, and the thing that I was talking about earlier, where like, you have a gun and you add all these perks and elements and attachments to it, and you're like, well, shit, now I got a better loot score gun. I'm going to swap that out. What they've done instead with this new system is that when you get a gun, that is your gun. And you upgrade that gun as much as you want, but there's no finding another better gear score gun. There's no gear score. And your person can only carry 2 primary weapons and a sidearm, and that's it. So if you go and find another gun that you like better, that may be like, faster fire rate or whatever, if you pick that gun up, you have to drop the gun that you have equipped in your thing. So you can't have a backpack of a bunch of different gear score guns anymore. You're limited to those 3 guns that are on your person. And then you have these blueprints that you can still set up where you can purchase these guns that are in your inventory, like back at your camp. So you can go back to your camp and be like, oh, I have this gun that I've collected all of the crafting resources to purchase the blueprint, so I can always retrieve that gun if I want to, but you can't carry it with you out on the field. So that's one of the things they did to it. They also made adjustments to it to where you have control over how bandages and fatigue and everything work. So you have unlimited bandages in the game. So you can keep fixing yourself up. Well, you can add an ability to where that's limited so that you can only bandage yourself 5 times, 2 times, based on like they have a basic, simple, extreme, different levels of difficulty. Same with fatigue. You can get fatigued faster, or you can get more realistic fatigued elements as you're running, to where you have to do different things to like treat yourself in better ways. They've added a bunch of features that allow you to kind of customize the game the way you want it to be played. So there's a lot of pieces in here that you can customize, that I was pretty impressed by all the tweaks and changes that you can make. So there's like a whole slew of new options that they've added to make this an experience that's more for you and how you want to approach and play the game. Just a lot of like pieces and things that they've added to this game within the last month that are part of this new like next generation of updates that is intended to give people back more of what they're looking for in their type of experience in playing Ghost Recon. And it seems they fixed some of the bugs too, which is kind of nice. But like I enjoy the grind. Like I genuinely somehow, for whatever reason, enjoyed what I was doing in there. There's a lot of stuff to find, a lot of stuff to do and explore. I think the world actually looks, even though it felt kind of generic when I saw the videos for it, like once I got into it, I was like, this is a beautiful world. It's really, really nice to look at. There's a lot of cool stuff to discover. Like I found some caves. I found like weird bunker places where they got some weird shit going on. And there's a lot of different like things you can find in the world that I didn't expect to see. And I like driving vehicles, so that's a lot of fun. Finding people on the side of the road and just running them over. Yeah, I'm surprisingly enjoying it, even though despite it's definitely not lacking bugs. Like it's got a lot of bugs, but not as bad as I expected there to be. And nothing was like super, I never found a game breaking bug at least, which was nice. And then, which is kind of weird to say for a AAA title, but I definitely think it's a interesting game to jump into today if you can get it discounted, especially if you have some friends that you can jump into it with. If you want to play this game solo, it's not a good game, but if you want to play with friends, it's a fun game. Like I don't think this game is meant to be played at all by yourself. It's just not enjoyable. The only reason I'm playing this is because I can play co-op with people. It's interesting. I mean, it's changed a lot. I mean, it's right. This all those feature enhancements that they've added into it. I mean, you can make it whatever kind of game you want it to be.
Yeah.
And that's pretty crazy. I mean, the story isn't any better, but I don't think the story's bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's for Ubisoft. It's like, it's not any worse than Division 2. Like I think the Division 2 story wasn't very good, and the Division 1 story wasn't very good. But it's still
we say it all the time.
Fun.
You don't go to Ubisoft to play a story. You go to Ubisoft to play in the world.